So this is a new massage device that I just made. It's a percussion device. I did a couple of different things. Most massage tools that people use, they've got small pointy heads or they've got round heads with foam. I never liked the way they distributed pressure, and a lot of them come at frequencies that don't do enough to increase circulation and or suppress spindle information. So I'm going to explain what I mean by spindle information. Spindles are small little sensory organs that sit inside of muscles. They tell your central nervous system where you are in space. When you hit a reflex, for example, the reason that muscle jumps is that when you tap the tendon, the spindle senses it was just elongated and says, we didn't like that, and then it causes the reflex. Spindles have all different degrees of activity, and they are extremely dependent upon blood flow. They also can be inhibited with an oscillation or a vibration that happens between 50 and 60 cycles per second. I'm going to put up some references right now that shows when a spindle is stimulated at a very specific frequency, it temporarily relaxes the muscle. And in addition to that, with this particular head, I had the head machined with some 3D printing. I had the neck reinforced with a stainless steel screw to prevent it from bending. That allows for increased circulation, which when coupled with spindle inhibition will allow you to target very specific areas of your muscles to relax them and lengthen them. And there are certain spots that are really important to focus on. A paper came out, you think when a muscle fires, for example, say you're running and your foot hits the ground, you would think that your quadricep would prevent the knee by flexing by firing the entire quadricep. And some new research is showing out the entire muscle doesn't fire. There are preferential regions that lengthen more so. So when your foot hits the ground when running, for example, and the quad lengthens like that, someone showed that there's a portion of the outer quad, the vastus lateralis, that lengthens to a greater degree to offload the kneecap. They were able to predict patellar tendinopathies by checking to see who had the greatest tightness in that vastus lateralis. Another region that it's important is the gastrocnemius. The medial head of the gastrocnemius fires constantly during a static stance like this to maintain a certain posture. So it keeps you on the edge of a fall, but because it's always active or active so frequently, it's constantly tight. And when it tightens, the muscle stiffens and you have impaired spindle activity, so that the spindle actually, because everything's stiff around it, it gets stimulated easier. So that in turn causes more tightness. So to lengthen vastus lateralis, your calf, or any muscle, if you could oscillate the muscle at 50 to 60 cycles per second, you would temporarily inhibit spindles. Then on top of it, you're going to increase circulation because these little devices, I did a study using infrared spectroscopy. You get large increases in circulation after percussing a muscle at a specific frequency. So I'm going to run you through exactly how to use this device, and it's simple, it's effective. It's a great way, say you have an injury and you start to warm up, you warm the muscle up, you're getting blood flowing to large portions of the muscle, but a lot of times you're not increasing circulation into the small damaged area. So this little device is used when you've had an injury to specifically increase circulation before you exercise, increase spindle sensitivity, increases your awareness when spindles are working properly. In fact, one great paper, a guy dissected 140 cadavers and counted spindles in every muscle, and he showed that they follow large nerves, they're surrounded by blood vessels, they exist primarily in slow twitch fibers, but he said that they represent tone regulators. So they will sense a muscle that's tight and lock it down. You can stretch, and you'll stretch every other spot, but you won't stretch that spot. So this is a way to get into that particular area. So Kim, I'm going to have you lie face up on the table for me. So to use this little device, there's a button on the back. You press and hold it for 3 seconds. That turns it on. And then you see that one little light there? You press it until all the lights light up. Now you are at 50 cycles per second, and say you want to loosen up vastus lateralis, you just put it on the vastus lateralis like this, light pressure, and that puts it at 50 cycles per second. You slide it back and forth. I made the head specifically wide enough so that you could put a fair amount of pressure over a broad region. And right now we're suppressing spindle information in through here, and we'll just do it for 2 or 3 minutes. You markedly increase blood flow. So I just have people do this at home, especially on an area that's injured. A common spot to be injured is vastus lateralis, but also rectus femoris, a muscle in through here. It runs from the anterior inferior iliac spine down. It's one of the quadriceps to the knee. When it's tight, it pulls the kneecap up. So you can just use this as like a tool where you're scanning. You'll find a little tight spot, and when you find it, just hold it there for 30 or 40 seconds and follow it down. Another muscle that's really important to lengthen, we had talked about it, is the medial gastroc. Medial gastroc is right here. Let me have you push into my hand for a second, push down. So you see the medial gastroc pop out there. Tightness in that correlates with plantar fasciitis. It also correlates with falls. Very difficult to lengthen that muscle. So I will just hold this here for about 20 seconds, 30 seconds. And then when you're finished, you just do gentle stretches to lengthen it out like that. So it's really important for not just suppressing spindle information, but lengthening muscle. So you can do it before you stretch, and do it on problem spots. For example, you could use it on the side of the hip abductor, you could use it on vastus lateralis. Soleus is also a spot. You can also put it on the center of the arch if you're having problems with your plantar fasciitis. Don't put it on bones, don't put it on the forefoot, don't put it on your kneecap. Focus on specific muscles.